Hello and welcome to the Clwyd area, transforming our volunteer experience, transformation, catch-up session for anyone who has missed it so far. My name's Jacob, I'm part of the Clwyd transformation team. I'm going to be talking you through kind of some of the changes that are going to be happening over the next couple of months, how they're going to affect you, why we're doing it, and yeah, exactly what those changes are as well. So we're going to start off with a nice little video from Carl here. So I'll hand over to Carl.
Hi, I'm Carl Hankinson, UK Chief Commissioner, and I'm a volunteer like you. And that's why I'm so pleased we're transforming volunteering here at Scouts. We're making it easier, more enjoyable and rewarding, and who doesn't want that? We've done a lot of talking, but now's the time to start making the changes. Why are we doing this? First, let's rewind a moment. Our Skills for Life vision is to prepare more young people with skills for life, supported by amazing leaders delivering an inspiring programme. To do this, we need more volunteers, and we need them to feel valued and supported. If we make volunteering more flexible, easier and more fun, we'll attract more volunteers, and the current ones, like you and me, will want to stay. We've listened to you, our volunteers, as well as potential volunteers. We've found 3 key areas to improve. We need to give a warmer welcome for everybody, we need to deliver better learning and support, and we need to simplify how we volunteer together. All of which needs to be supported by easy-to-use digital tools. These will be rolled out over time in phases, but there's lots that can be done to get started now. We're introducing our volunteering culture. This gives us a shared understanding of what it means to volunteer at Scouts. It outlines how we can support each other, really live up to our values and be at our best while acting as role models for young people. We're moving to teams-based volunteering. This means making changes to how we build our teams and what roles are called. We're making sure responsibilities are clear and tasks can be shared. This means people can volunteer more flexibly and in a way that suits their skills, interests and availability. Executive committees will now be called trustee boards, and there'll be changes to trustees' responsibilities. There's lots of detail on scouts.org.uk, but the changes being led by your local transformation team. They're planning how to make the changes where you are, when the time's right and the best way to do them. We know every area is different. Please speak to your local team and find out about your plans. Take time to understand the changes and think about what they mean for you and your team. I think these changes are really exciting. They're going to move us forward as a movement and will make volunteering easier. Everyone will have different responses to change. For some, change can be really exciting, and for others I know it can be a little scary. But I also know that we can do this together. Through all of this, we need to stay focused on our vision, helping so many more young people gain those fantastic skills for life. Thank you so much.
So a nice little overview there from Carl, kind of introducing it all quite nicely, really. So what are we going to be covering during this? Oh, what are we?
Carl Hankinson.
Thanks, Carl. What are we going to be doing during this session? So we're going to be covering why we're transforming volunteering, what is changing, and how is it being delivered. So first of all, why are we changing volunteering? Well, we want to make volunteering with Scouts easier and more fun, so that we can attract more volunteers and that our current volunteers will want to stay. This all forms a part of the greater North Star that we're working towards here at Clwyd. Making volunteering easier and much more fun is how we reach our North Star. We'll recruit more volunteers and retain current ones, consistently and safely deliver a great programme, and more young people gaining skills for life. So, throughout 2019 and 2020, we spoke to all of our volunteers, were invited to have their say, and we've spoken to over 5,000 so far. Members of the public, volunteers who have left us, all of the UK nations, those we want to welcome into Scouting, British Scouting overseas, other volunteering organisations, our young people, a wide range of backgrounds and communities, group and section leads, and volunteer managers as well. So, what did we learn? We learned that leaders deeply enjoy volunteering. However, challenges to this still exist. Only 30% of potential volunteers want to give time regularly. Current volunteers spend lots of time carrying out admin tasks. Some of our current processes and structures and training doesn't support easy recruitment of new volunteers. So, what's exactly changing? We've identified 3 key areas of change. We'll be providing a warmer welcome for everyone, delivering a more engaging learning experience, and simplifying how we volunteer together. All of which will be supported by easy to use digital tools. One other thing that's changing that we'll touch on in a little bit is trustees. So our exec committees are moving over to trustee boards as well. So our digital system supporting this change. We're adopting a digital first but not digital only approach. So it'll be a joined up experience to a single scouts.org.uk login. Easier to use and mobile friendly, and there'll be fewer steps and less admin. It's going to be so much better than Compass. How are we designing the changes? Well, volunteers leading alongside staff, volunteer experience groups, digital membership testing groups, early adopter cohort, that's us. So these digital tools have been tested for months and months, if not up to a year already. So by the time it is rolled out, it's going to be pretty much there and ready for us to use. So let's go into some of the things that we're changing in a little bit more detail. So there'll be a warmer welcome for everyone. So what have we learned from our existing kind of welcome into Scouting? Joining Scouts as a volunteer can feel daunting. Appointment panels are more like a job interview. The appointments process is time consuming. We want more volunteers locally, but need the support to make this happen. We're often reliant on our existing networks to get new volunteers, so this could be parents, carers, ex-members and current volunteers. So what's changing? So we're moving from appointments panels to welcome conversations, and this will happen where you volunteer. Volunteers are feeling daunted and unsupported when they're joining, so we'll have a buddy throughout your induction period. The process can be manual, it's time consuming and lots of admin. So the new digital system will make this so much easier and tie it all in together. And a lot of it will happen automatically. And we're reliant on existing networks to recruit. So the new systems will connect with popular apps and platforms to help us recruit more people. So these will be platforms like LinkedIn so that we can put our vacancies out there. So the appointment process, and this can happen in any order depending on the individual. So we'll still be doing the disclosure check and the internal check done by HQ. We'll have our welcome conversations, and this will normally happen between someone from the volunteer development team and their line manager. Referencing will still be happening, as well as declarations, and our trustees will have to do a trustee eligibility check still. And then they'll get on to the growing roots learning, which we'll discuss in a little bit. So changing teams or roles. So a welcome conversation is not required, though it's important that a conversation has taken place about the role they are going to undertake. So if you move groups, if you get a new role, you don't need to go through the whole appointments process again. You can be easily and simply transferred over. A valid disclosure must be in place, and a confidential inquiry will always be carried out. The volunteer may need to undertake additional learning relevant to the new role or team. So this will be role-specific training as well. So another thing that we're changing is the learning and training. We're moving to a more engaging learning experience. So what have we learned from our current training? Our training scheme can feel overwhelming. Some learning is hard to access and requires finding more time. We don't have enough training advisors, and this delays validation, which can be really frustrating for the learner. And the average length of time someone volunteers is 2 years, but nearly every role must complete the Wood Badge, which takes up to 3 years to complete. Doesn't quite make sense. So what's changing? Training and training teams. These will become personalised learning tailored to your role, and the learning will be built into our structures and digital systems. time-consuming admin, managing multiple learners, compliance and validation. Again, existing skills will be recognised and sign-off built in, no separate validation required. The new digital learning system to support learners and reduce admin, including easy to manage and report compliance. We've currently got an off-putting digital learning experience, so this will be a digital first but not digital only approach with revitalised learning modules, including all of the updated learning all in one place. And Wood Badge for almost every volunteer role. The Wood Badge is going to become absolutely optional, and it will be available to everyone regardless of their role. So, growing roots. Growing roots will become the new mandatory learning for our volunteers. Volunteers will have 6 months to complete their growing roots learning. Growing roots will comprise of 2 parts. The learning a volunteer needs to get started, and the learning a volunteer needs for their specific team or role. So, the learning that everyone needs to get started. This is going to be split into 4 clear sections, and these will be data protection in Scouts, who we are and what we do, creating inclusion and safe scouting. So data protection in Scouts will look at gathering data, storing and sharing data, data breaches and deleting data. This will be replacing the GDPR and some of Module 11, the admin module. Who we are and what we do will look at the purpose and values, working with others, running our programme, the basics. This will be replacing Module 1, Essentials of Scouting, some of Module 3 and 4, Tools for the Role, Module 5, the Fundamentals, Module 9, Working with Adults. We'll then have Creating Inclusion, which will be looking at self-awareness, creating inclusive spaces, supporting specific needs, challenging bias and discrimination. And this will be replacing Module 7 and partially some of Module 36. And we'll finally have Safe Scouting. So this will look at e-safety, assessing and managing risk, incidents, reporting processes, mental health awareness and safeguarding. And this will be replacing safety, safeguarding and some of the module there as well. So the learning a volunteer needs for their role. This will be dependent on what your role is and what team that you're working in. So everyone that's in a section team will have to do delivering a great programme. And some of the potential content that will be involved in this is how to work with parents and guardians, how to actively involve young people, and running our programme in practice. And this will be replacing Module 12A, Module 12B, parts of 14 and parts of 15. Then all team leaders and lead volunteers will have to do leading Scout volunteers. Some of the content in this will be teamwork, inclusion and conflict from a management perspective, suspension, sanctions and difficult conversations, and this will be replacing some aspects of M&S e-learning, and it allows timely delivery of some of the key content on the skills course. And finally, being a trustee in Scouts. So anyone who is a trustee will have to undergo this training. And some of the potential content that we're looking at for this will be the charity regulated processes, insurance, legal responsibilities, including GDPR and equality impact assessments, and trustee responsibilities and their training there. And this will be replacing the trustee introduction and parts of the standalone trustee training. First response delivery models will be changing slightly as well. However, first response should continue to be delivered as the current model. Who will need to complete this in the new learning model will be shared once agreed. This will be split into 3 different options. So we'll have face-to-face, and this will be 1 6-hour session or 3 2-hour-long sessions. We'll then have an online option that will consist of 3 2-hour online trainer-led sessions and then a 20-minute practical, and that will be face-to-face. And then the blended. So there'll be 1 2.5 hour e-learning, then a 1 3-hour online trainer-led sessions, and then they'll also have the 20-minute practical face-to-face as well. So they're not completely online, and there is that, that smaller face-to-face practical section, but it's the hope that this will allow more people to get on the course without having to take days off or necessarily sometimes sacrifice their weekends and things like that. We're now going to look at the branching out training. So branching out will form the learning you can take on beyond growing roots. It will be delivered through a variety of methods, including digital, face-to-face and blended models. Some current training modules will keep running for a while as we work to update or replace them and add more new content. This suite of new learning will be available over the course of 2024 and 2025 and will be updated and added on an as and when basis after that. So what might branching out look like? Branching out will allow for volunteers to shape their learning journey based on what is most beneficial to them or their team. This will encompass a variety of learning options such as digital skills, permits and adventurous activities, practical scouting skills, team leadership and much more. So as you can see, you've got your growing roots at the bottom, which is your compulsory getting started training, and then branching out where you can further develop different skills and expand on existing knowledge. And some of the options there will be things like adventurous activities, supporting young people, growing the movement, and practical scouting skills. We'll have manager and supporter training as well. So beyond the learning in growing roots, manager and supporter training will also become optional. For those that choose to complete it, it will continue to be delivered in its current form. These will be reviewed and refreshed or replaced along with the other remaining modules to form part of the branching out learning. This will take place over the next couple of years, with the updated learning being released in 2025. So we've got the changes to the Wood Badge as well. So as part of improving the learning experience, we'll be moving to an optional Wood Badge. Every volunteer will be able to decide what learning will be most beneficial to them to earn their Wood Badge, and whether they want to do it a Wood Badge at all. Maybe they don't. You won't be required to repeat any learning when you change teams or roles either. The Wood Badge changes will come in 2 stages. So there'll be a transitional Wood Badge while the current modules are reviewed, and then a new badge, Wood Badge, being launched during 2025. More information will be shared about what this looks like later in 2023. So we've also got the changes to the executive committees, and they'll be moving over to trustee boards. So what's changing? To bring our current structure in line with the good practice guidance set out by the Charity Commission, there are currently 2 key areas of change. The first being the name. So the exec committees will be renamed trustee boards, members of which will be named trustees. And the purpose. So trustee boards will have a clearer purpose statement to fit with the focus on governance. So their key role will be governance. So the purpose of trustee boards. What will this look like in practice? So trustees will focus on governance, ensuring the group is meeting the charity's objectives, is complying with POR, is complying with the law. This will mean that operational tasks such as repairing the hut, cutting grass, fundraising and similar are managed through the group leadership team and the group support team. These operational tasks can be carried out by people who are trustees. However, they will sit under a relevant team rather than in their trustee role. So our volunteer journey. What have we learned? In our research with volunteers, we have learned that we have too many roles. These are often fixed and can feel like work. New volunteers find it hard to understand the expectations of different roles, which can put them off. We have a small number of people and roles with lots of responsibility and stress placed upon them. The digital systems which manage volunteers are inefficient and time-consuming to use. So, looking at the data, 30% of all leadership roles are currently vacant. 53% of these are district commissioner and manager roles, and 27% of these are group scout leader roles. 45% of people said their workload was difficult or really difficult. So, what's changing? We're moving from individual, inflexible, fixed roles to volunteers working in teams on tasks with a clearer purpose. The unclear expectations for volunteers will be changed into clearer roles with titles understood inside and outside of Scouts. A small number of people and roles with lots of responsibility and stress will be changing to an improved team structure with clearer responsibility, new digital systems to reduce admin. Inefficient and time-consuming digital systems for volunteers will be replaced by new digital, easy-to-use systems to support volunteers and volunteer managers. Volunteering can feel like work, so the structures and teams which will allow for our volunteers to contribute in a way that matches their interests and availability. So we've got another little video here that I'm going to share with you.
At Scout, we give young people skills for life. And that only happens because of volunteers like you. Whether you started yesterday or you've been with us for years, we want you to feel welcome, supported, and valued. We'd also love it if you gained some new skills and had some fun too. We value everything you do. That's why it's so important that together we create a strong, positive culture that allows volunteers like you to be at your best. So what does a positive volunteering culture look like? For us, it means really living up to our values. It's about each and every one of us thinking about our words and actions, how they fit with our values, and how they affect others. A positive culture starts and ends with each one of us. Our volunteering culture should encourage new people to join us and make those who are already here want to stay. But for any of this to happen, we need to be clear about what you can expect from Scouts and what's expected from you in return. Our volunteering culture describes how we should behave and gives a shared understanding of what it means to volunteer at Scouts. This builds on the good work you, as volunteers, are already doing. Our volunteering culture means we support and respect each other, live our values, and be role models for young people. It's about taking on the responsibility to create a safe and rewarding experience for a movement we truly believe in, and making Scouts a great place to volunteer. We're proud of our diversity, but for all our differences, as Scouts we share our unique values and culture. That's our greatest strength. The way we act together helps us to achieve our goals. It's all about great volunteers like you. You give the encouragement young people need to step up, speak up, and dream big. Thank you for everything you do.
So hopefully that was a nice little introduction there to our volunteering culture, which I'm going to move on to now. So, our volunteering culture. So our values describe Scouting at its best, while volunteering culture is how we make our best a daily reality. It sets out what to expect from UK Scouts, what is expected as a volunteer, and what we'll work together to do. It guides and reminds us of our goal, both as a movement and as a volunteer team, and this is to help young people gain skills for life. It's there to help our volunteers thrive from the moment they join, giving them clear expectations and a shared understanding of what it really means to be a volunteer in Scouts. So, most of our volunteers will already be role modelling the behaviour described in our volunteering culture. However, it's important that we always need to address when we, and those around us, don't get things quite right. We do this even when it would be easier to ignore the problems. As role models and champions for our values, when we challenge behaviour that doesn't align with what we believe, we're actively creating our volunteer culture. So, changing role titles. I'm sure you've probably heard lots about this. We currently have over 400 role titles, which makes our structure difficult to understand. We're simplifying our role structures and role titles. So, we'll be introducing team leader and team member role titles. These titles will replace many of our current roles, such as section assistant and assistant section leader, and more, along with our deputy and assistant roles. Introducing lead volunteers. The Commissioner or Group Scout Leader titles will change across Scouts. GSLs, along with District, county, area and region, and so on, commissioners will be called lead volunteers. So for Clwyd, instead of Kevin being our area commissioner, he is our lead volunteer. Youth commissioners will be called youth leads. These changes are about how we organise ourselves and our teams, but you're still going to be a scout leader, beaver leader, skip, owl, badger, arcala, rickshaw. That isn't changing. So, adopting a team-based approach. This is how our volunteers will be working in teams. So as you can see, we've got Hannah as our team lead, and then we've got our team members there behind. So there's certain tasks that you'll work on as a whole team, and then there's certain tasks that you can allocate to individuals to best fit their needs, their availability, but most importantly, their skills. Tom, for example, has been assigned task 6 alongside Meter. This could be a camp. They may be really, really good at camps, whereas Jamal might not be. So it would make sense to put your strongest people on the tasks that best fit their skills. So this is how our volunteers will work in teams. The section structure will be changing to fit the new name titles as well. So we'll have our team leader or team leaders up at the top, with team members around, and then potentially young leaders if we have young leaders in that specific section. And this is what the group will look like. You'll have the group leadership team, the sections team, and the trustee board. Groups can introduce more teams and sub-teams, but we'll talk about sub-teams in just a moment. This is an example of the district structure. So you'd have your leadership team, your trustee board, the volunteering development team, programme team, support team, all of your groups, and the 14 to 24 team, which with that we'll have young leaders, explorers and network as well. So let's have a look at who does what. Here's some examples of the kind of tasks that each team will be looking at doing. This will be their responsibilities. When we've run these sessions, people have highlighted that there's certain tasks that could be run by more than one team, and this is where the teams work together. Someone might work in more than one team. They may have multiple roles, multiple hats, and sit in multiple teams. The new system will allow people to have multiple roles and work within multiple teams without having to have new appointments and everything like that as well. So I mentioned sub-teams just a moment ago. So sub-teams are being introduced to help organise our volunteers and will sit within a team. So each sub-team will have a specific area of focus within the overall scope of the larger team. So we can use a sub-team to increase the sense of identity and belonging within our volunteers, to make use of our volunteers' time and resources, and also to help make it clearer what people do and what they're responsible for. For example, within the programme team, you may set up a climbing team, a climbing sub-team, or an archery sub-team. Accreditations. So sometimes a person needs to be given permission to do a specific task. This is called an accreditation. Accreditations will be introduced along with the new digital system. For example, a task that needs to be done with someone with specific skills or qualifications, a kayak or archery permit assessor. A task where someone needs to find and contact a specific person, the HQ awards team, knowing who to post awards to. Volunteers will need to meet the right criteria to receive an accreditation. For example, holding a certain qualification, completed specific learning, or be in a particular role. So specific accreditations will be Adventurous Activity Assessor, Night Away Assessor, First Response Trainer, Manager of Activity Permit Schemes, and more. This will come alongside the new digital systems. So, how is this being delivered? So in Clwyd, leading the change locally, there's 7 of us. So we've got Moz, David Morris as our transformation lead, and then the team made up of myself, Jan, Dan, Russ, Sheila and Mike. So each local county, area and region has appointed a transformation lead. The transformation leads will be working with area and district teams in your area to translate the big picture plans and helping to make these work in your local area. 10 counties, areas and regions have been chosen as early adopter areas. These areas will go live with the changes early to ensure that the transition for everyone is as smooth as possible, and we're one of them. So, leading change locally. The changes will come in an iterative way, building on each other to improve our volunteer experience. There will be a period of adjustment for everyone. Some changes might be more relevant to your role than others. Embedding the changes into the way that we do things and the new digital systems will take time. It's not going to happen overnight. There's not going to be a switch that we flick and it's all magically going to happen. We've all got to work together and support each other through these changes. So the timeline of how it's looking. So during July, we'll be working with districts and area to create new teams. Discussions with those with roles which don't map automatically across will also be taking place. In August, we'll continue planning, cleaning up Compass data and ensuring training is validated and recorded on Compass. Group transformation sessions, supported by transformation team, learning mapped across to the new system. This will take place during September and October. And then in November, we go live of new digital systems. Compass will be switched off, new systems switched on, current roles mapped across to teams. And then later on, the rest of the UK will transition. We'll continue to support and build our teams. So a couple of key things to take away is that if you've done any training that needs to be validated, you must get this validated before November when we switch over. If it's not been validated, you will lose it. It'll be gone. You're going to have to do it all again. So get that validated, speak to your validating teams and get that stuff validated. This is mainly for GSLs. You need to make sure that all your data on Compass is all cleaned up. So we need to delete anyone that is no longer with us. Make sure all the information on there is completely correct. Things like ethnicities, input. There's a lot of groups that are missing their organisational data. So this is things like contact details, your location, your meeting times, your meeting days. This all needs to be updated as well. You're not going to lose your wood beads. I should have said that earlier. Your wood badge. If you've got your wood badge, you've got your wood badge. We're not taking it off you. Don't worry, you're not going to have to redo it either. And if you've got any further questions that hasn't been covered in here, drop us an email, transform@cluidscouts.org.uk. Speak to other people, ask questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question. We're all working our way through this together. There's a lot of things that we don't necessarily know the answers to yet, but we can share them with you as soon as we know. We've got to work together to get this done, and we will, and it'll be great. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. Really do appreciate that, and we're all really looking forward to working with you to make the transformation of our volunteer experience as smooth and as effective as possible. Thank you.